If you like the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this.
People who are in relationships, how did you find out you were getting cheated on? I was telling her sister that I was really concerned about her mental health. That she had largely stopped communicating with me. We shared this experience we both had, or she seemed to be in the same room with us but like in a far-off place mentally. And then I mentioned how I was annoyed that she spent more time talking to her Discord friends, which I believed was a group of people, than she did me these days. To which her sister said, yeah, I thought her talking to that guy so much was suspicious. When her sister said the words, guy and suspicious, I decided I should take a look at her phone. It was all in plain English on Facebook Messenger. Luckily I caught it only a few weeks in, but it was particularly hurtful because at that time I had been putting her needs before my own for months due to mental health issues of hers. I'm in a better place now, but at the time it was devastating. I had never been so uncontrollably emotional. I was angry, and although I did not do anything physically violent, I was doing a lot of yelling and screaming and just twitching or something. I was like shaking a lot. It was really hard for me because part of it was me recontextualizing a lot of things that had happened previously and realizing why they had happened. Things like her going to the UPS store right before closing and not getting back for an hour and a half and telling me it was very full. She was really uneasy when I seen her message certain people, or her open snaps from people in front of me. I then had a few mates contact me telling me who was who and what she had been doing. I was with her at the point and she's crying, claiming she didn't know those people and whatnot. So later that night I go on her phone while she's asleep cause it's going mental with notifications, and find some guy ringing her and sending dick pics asking if she is able to get some time to send back. I dig deeper and find it's been going on for well over a year. Meeting her exes, sending nudes, sexting. Even went to meet a guy while I was at her house when she claimed she was going to the shop. I woke her up trying to kick her out but she refused. Few days later she's shagging my friend and got a new boyfriend after almost 2 years of being together. It's been nearly 4 years and haven't felt the embrace of another girl since. My ex struck up a conversation about how I would deal in a hypothetical situation if she broke up with me. We have 2 kids together and I found it odd but assured her I wasn't going anywhere and still loved her. Then she told me her coworker has been flirting with her and she wants to break up. I was gutted. That entire week after felt surreal. A month later she comes to me wanting to get back together, saying it was all a mistake. I said no at the time, but a year later we did get back together, but I now realize once you break that trust there's no going back. I thought I'd be with her my whole life. I supported her, we had a family, I moved mountains to get us a house, and in the end it wasn't enough. She started giving me the cold shoulder, something she did prior to our first breakup for months, years at a time, but this time I didn't put up with it and broke things off myself. Ruined a lifelong friendship and trust for a one-night stand with a coworker. She was my first long-term relationship and I'm doubtful I'll trust anyone again. This is a little immature, but it was the first time it happened to me with a girl I dated for 4 years. This all happened our final year of high school. She posted a picture with him on Instagram. They worked together, so no big deal. She then posted him as her man crush Monday, if you remember those, and called me a couple hours after I saw it. She wanted to go to a movie with him. Her words exactly were, I don't want to break up, but I'm going to a movie with insert his name, and I promise you I won't do anything worse than kiss him. I was in a loss at the audacity. I told her to go ahead, but I'm done. She called me crying over and over for about an hour. She then made a post about how sad she was to be single, followed by an Instagram post of her art the movies in his lap. That shit was wild. I got back at her though. She was one of those jealous types who had a list of girls she hated. They all hated her and I was a bit of a handsome man back in the day. I hooked up with 8 different girls that year that she absolutely despised. It was impossible for her to avoid in our small town school. It even got to the point where she started hitting me up trying to get back with me. I wouldn't reply. I would just change my message profile picture to a different one of me with the girl she hated. It all ended with her cussing me out multiple times about it and actually staying with the person she hated the most for the next 3 years. Turns out she was actually an amazing person and the exact opposite of my ex. Years later, after I had forgot about it all and was still dating the girl she hated, my ex messaged me one day out of the blue. Message said, "Are you seriously dating her out of spite still?" I just told her we genuinely liked each other and she refused to believe it. I left her on read and went on with my life. For some reason it haunted her and she still messaged me years later about it. It was very strange and sad, but she did it to herself. Decides to be the crazy person and check her phone after months of her being distant, cold, and our sex life basically stopping. I found texts that spanned the last 4 out of 5 years of our relationship, talking to a guy who she met on a high school trip to London. So many graphic texts, nudes sent and received, and a history of long Skype video calls. This was 2018. Found out the guy moved here to the States and was living in our city. He talked a bunch of shit about how he was gonna fight me and steal her from me, and she told him how hot that would be, and she gave him my address and gate code. I broke up with her and had a bit of a freak out. I did not get violent even when she slapped me because I don't hit girls. A week after I dumped her, I hear a British man yelling outside of my apartment window at 2 a.m. calling for me to come outside. I knew exactly who it was, and when I told him, "No, I'm not fighting you," he called me a pussy and threw a rock at my window which cracked it. That was the final straw, and I went downstairs and proceeded to beat the man senseless. I've since moved, met my fiancée who is the mother of my beautiful child, and I've sobered up and avoid violence at all costs. Fuck that terrible situation. Her best friend called and told me. I know that it's something out of a Hallmark movie, but her best friend had stage 4 cancer with very little time left on this earth. One day, she called me and said, "I'm trying to go out without regrets. I know you love her, but she's been cheating on you with her cousin." She was from the East Coast and I, West. She discovered a family member living close by. A cousin. They apparently hit it off, and she would visit them frequently. Well, as many are probably suspecting now, it wasn't a cousin, it was a boyfriend. She was draining me dry this entire time. I worked 2 jobs to support us while she went to school. We were going to go vice versa. Well, I moved my shit into a different bedroom and thought that was that. Nope. He broke up with her and then she suddenly wants to be together again. I wasn't interested and let the crazy begin. She stabbed me, bit me, hit me with a car, chalked me, and much, much more. Eventually, I paid her a few grand to move out and go somewhere else. With one final, "Fuck you," she stole my dog and gave it to her parents on the East Coast. When I asked for the dog back, I said I'd drive to get them. They told me to F off. Then my next GF, who later became my wife, I caught in bed with another man straight up. I just told her to move out and I'd handle the divorce paperwork. At least she didn't beat the shit out of me. The dude she cheated on me with had no idea I even existed, and I was out of town visiting my dad in Boston. He sent me a message on Facebook telling me he's sorry, but he had no idea I existed and he was drunk that night. He woke up before her and used the bathroom and saw my shaving kit. She said it was her roommate's, but it was a 1-bedroom apartment. He did some snooping and found out she was dating me. Real bro move. I had no anger towards him, actually the opposite. He even invited me to have some drinks and he'd pay. I respectfully declined. Luckily we only had 6 weeks left on our lease. The most painful and awkward 6 weeks of my life. She threw away a 3-year relationship because she didn't want to go to Boston but was mad that I still wanted to go without her. Now I'm happily married to a non-toxic and wonderful woman, and that experience taught me a lot and allowed me to dodge a bullet. She progressively got more distant. From talking all day every day to maybe a few texts a day to only hearing from her every couple of days. Okay, she's in college. It's a busy time. Some dude started popping up on her IG stories a lot. I put two and two together and confronted her. Sure enough, she admitted it. He ended up being abusive and cheating on her and just a shit person. Part of me wanted to be like he good. But I just couldn't really bring myself to feel that way. I don't want anyone to go through abusive relationships, they suck, they really do. She got hold me not long ago. It's been a good 8-9 years since it ended. She apologized for it all and basically told me every dude she'd been with during the time had either used her or abused her. Thanked me for being the only boyfriend of hers that treated her with respect, and she was just immature at the time. Didn't want to get back together or anything. But just wanted me to know if she could go back and do it again, she would have stayed with me. I've been over it for a couple years now. So it mildly surprised me to hear from her. But it was nice to get that closure. Even though I'm well over it now. But past me certainly appreciates it. I wish things could have been different. But that's life. My wife travels a lot for work, generally to surrounding states. A couple of months ago there was a convention she attended with a coworker. The industry she's in is very small, but anyways. She came back from this and something just seemed off. She wasn't really talking about the trip like she normally would have. She was very distant and kind of cold. I felt like I had to pry to get her to talk about it at all. My mother had died 2 weeks before, so I thought, hey, maybe it's just you. Or, maybe you're not feeling right. The straw that broke the camel's back is when she came home on a Thursday morning at 4:30 a.m. Kissed me. Told me she loved me. And proceeded to cuddle on me. Something felt off, something felt not right. I made, arguably, the dumbest mistake of my life. I looked at her phone while she slept. Fuck man. I'm feeling wrecked. Absolutely fucking destroyed as a partner. I've poured myself, my love, and my all into this for 10 years. My heart is dashed into a million pieces and I can't go on without destroying her. Not in a literal sense, just emotionally. I fucking hate myself for looking through her phone. Fuck. I mean, how do you fucking do that to someone? How do you have the gall to crawl in bed, tell someone you love them, when you've been unfaithful? Cold and fucking heartless. Ex was working abroad, and I got a call from her employer. She'd been in a car accident and needed to be flown somewhere for surgery, remote work location. Her employer covered my international travel costs to be there at the hospital when she was out of surgery. 2 weeks of ICU and recovery. A day or two after surgery, when she was conscious and communicative, things felt off. And not just due to the medical situation. Fast forward those 2 weeks, I'm unpacking our belongings after getting her home, and I'm doing the mental inventory of what all I packed for her at the hospital, and what might be missing. An external hard drive. I was making the bed while she was sleeping on the couch and felt it tucked between the mattress and box spring. So of course I looked. Found all the graphic evidence I needed. Added twist of the knife, guy driving the car which rolled and injured her was the one she was having the affair with. I did mention the X part, right. Good. Good riddance. First GF, a mutual friend told me. All of our friends and her went to the same school. I had transferred to a different school, so everyone knew she was with a new guy except me until that point. Until that friend point, since she didn't want to look bad, she told everyone I had cheated on her. Of course I couldn't defend myself cause I wasn't at that school anymore. But I lost a lot of friends. Not only that, she went on social media and blackmailed me saying that she wants me to become friends with her new boyfriend and message him every day, 3 times a day. Or else, she would fabricate a story in everyone that I told her to kill herself and that I cheated 2 times. Second GF, her best friend told me. I'd ask her best friend stuff like what should I get the GF for whatever holiday. Or when I should take her XYZ place. And the best friend was guilty that my relationship was founded on a lie since day one, so after about a year in, She gave my GF an ultimatum to tell me the truth or she'd do it herself. GF ended up telling me only BC her hand was forced. Third GF, 1. She told me straight up 2. Told her I'd BRB while on FaceTime, she thought that meant I was hanging up, I came back and virtually witnessed her cheating on me. I hung up and featuring her again. And she answered, but of course everything was normal when she picked up 3. She went silent on everything while I was gone. No text back, no calls back, etc. She was out cheating. After a week she texted me like everything was normal, claiming that she had to renew her phone service. But she didn't know that her sister had sent me proof for her cheating, audio of her admitting she's cheating on me. 4. Told her I was going to bed early while I was away for work. I couldn't sleep well where I was that night and woke up around midnight to see on her Snapchat she had a party at the house, was drunk, kissing another dude and on his lap. I just went back to bed. When I woke up, the story was gone. And she acted like everything was normal. Bonus for this GF, she and I went Christmas shopping together for our friends and fam. We were at a mall. So keep in mind she had mentioned at the last store that she completed her family shopping. And just needs to get stuff for some of her friends. At checkout, she tried to hide that she bought some expensive men's underwear. That were definitely not my size or style. However, the clerk unfolded them in the open air before scanning them, and my GF looked at me scared. I had a straight face. So straight that she looked back to the clerk and said, "Actually, never mind, you can put those back." Not a single word the entire car ride home. Fourth GF, she didn't write me back on my trip abroad. I was in a country in Europe in a place with no reception or real electronic use. After my third letter, I took a train to France and booted up my phone. No messages from her either. But I texted our mutual friend, who was my old friend and her best friend, and they told me she was just so sad I was gone in a way that she couldn't do the RS anymore. Well, of a best friend would cover for their friend. I uncovered the truth on accident. I found out with proof she'd been doing heavy drugs, was fucking as many people as she could at college, and that she'd been cheating far before I had even left the country. So, am I allowed to have trust issues?